address of that church.
Okay.
Too.
That'll work.
Because there's some really cool.
Yeah, whenever you guys,
places.
because I get a lot of emails from you guys like, hey, have you been here? Have you done this? I actually, in my email, I actually have different folders for all 50 states. So that way when you guys send me something, I just slide it into that folder. So in the event I'm passing through that state, I could tell the wife, like, hey, we need to stop along here when we're going to go see your parents or whatever. All right, so the first device we're going to be using is a thermal. Looks like somebody's just kind of chilling in their car over there. A lot of these cars belong to employees that work down here, so they come down here for their breaks and whatever, so we just got to be mindful of them. So welcome to a parking lot, everybody. Congratulations. I told you I'd take you to weird spots. So it's funny, you guys don't take ghost tours, so you don't know that this is a weird spot. But this used to be something relevant to the history of Charleston, which is exactly why we're here. The other ghost tours don't come here because there's nothing to see. We're going to be able to explore the whole space, minus wherever the vehicles are, so we've still got plenty of space to be able to work. But this is where I start actually withholding information. I was waiting for that. This is where I start withholding information on purpose because I don't want you looking for the color red all the time. So I'm going to give you guys a brief history on the space, but I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did with the big red barn. I am actually excited too that you heard the phrase Red Bull. So it does kind of prove my point, like what color is the big red barn, because we did ask it out loud. So where are we? This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. Cool. So that's the layout of the land. Now, who the hell were these people? Sounds like you guys already know, like, are at least familiar with the name.
A little bit.
So let's kind of get into it. Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks. That's why we look for those secondary clues. I need to know which one's coming through. So you can see how to address them, basically. But anyway, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics, so we're going to move on. If I don't bring it up, they will do it for me in a very nasty manner, like where's my recognition kind of piece coming out of a spirit box. So I just give them the recognition, and we move on to Eliza. Her story's much better anyway. So, Eliza, she married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. If you ask her how old she was when she got married, don't expect numbers like the colonial days of when she came from, like 12 and 14. Okay? Think of today's standards because the husband was over double her age when they married.
He was 39, wasn't he?
Nope.
No. Wasn't she 17?
Nope.
Okay, wrong person.
He was probably 63.
I love how you guys are guessing already. That's funny. I don't normally get that. But educators in front of me, you guys are testing your own knowledge. So, but anyway, he was double her age. And basically, it was kind of a creepy age gap then and now. So kind of keep that in mind. But she marries him because her father's over in England, where her family's from. She wasn't actually born there. In case you don't know, she was born in Antigua. So those are Spanish Isles. But at the same time, he's over in England. And he's trying to bring all of his children home one last time. And Eliza does not believe he's dying. So she stays put and gets married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry him out of love. This is a true love story, believe it or not. Nothing horrific here at all. So we will be respectful while we're here asking questions and kind of poking around. But anyway, back to Eliza. She was correct. Dad did not die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to where you're standing. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. It's a plant that makes blue dye, makes your blue jeans blue. That's what we use it for. However, when she got her seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She actually had to learn from her servants and slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not warm here all the time. Then she learned how to make the dye from them. Then moved it to a cash crop. Interesting. I want to see if something else comes up with that. Then she moved it to a cash crop down by the Stono River. Got a hold of Dad and told him rice plantations are going downhill. Now we're going to make a killing with the indigo because it was very expensive to be able to process it and then sell it. So she was correct, and now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. So it's kind of the boring business stuff. Didn't seem boring to you guys because you guys were all like guessing at the answers already. So here's what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of throw you to like a set of focus questions. We're going to work together. Like we're not going to fully separate just because we're in a nice small group. Normally if I have my groups of 10 to 12 people, I say go spread out and I'll be with all of you in a round robin. But we're going to kind of stick together a little bit just to make sure everything is kind of going in tandem. You're going to focus on Eliza's death. So you can ask these questions out loud or you can just focus. There's no right or wrong way. Her 4 major questions that we get answers to: how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, which president was a pallbearer at her funeral.
Actually. She said, ask me.
What did it say before that?
Ask me.
Oh, ask me.
How old were you?
Well, that was the pallbearer when you were talking about the pallbearer. Okay, so who was your pallbearer at the funeral? Were you that famous to have a president? I mean, tell me which president.
Your focus is are going to be, the mansion's not here anymore. I want you to focus on what happened to it, and hopefully you get the answer. And if you get the answer, we normally get 2 or 3 numbers from that exact
It's
date from that
President's
tragedy.
Day, so why not respect the president and tell me who the president is?
Good key point. I like it. Anything else above 25 going on with yours?
No.
Okay. Anything crazy going on with yours?
Mm-mm.
Okay. We're going to do 1 or 2 laps in here while Kim kind of shouts out whatever answers that she's getting. And if you get something else kind of on the nutty side, definitely let me know. I'm waiting. She might actually get
What's her name? Eliza?
Eliza. Yes, with a Z.
Eliza.
So are you going to tell me?
That's a yes/no question. Sorry, I'm an English guy. I'll catch it every time.
Eliza.
Hands on your cheek.
Eliza, how old are you?
Look at her getting into it.
Yeah.
Look at her. She was so hesitant to get started, and she's over there like poking away. I love it. She and I are going to be besties when we're done with this, just so
Yeah.
you know. Liza, I know we're here a little earlier than what you normally expect us, but we're asking the same questions we always do. We're being respectful. These 3 ladies with me are all educators. If that helps you out, Eliza, this is how they learn too. Be mindful, we got a car coming up behind you.
Okay.
Yeah, the only entrance and exit for vehicles is right where we came in. And she just said catch a glimpse.
Okay, so tell me very clearly.
This is sit.
How many dollars did that president try to give you some money? Lie about something?
No, there's no scandal. No scandal. So the reason why I'm being so adamant about that is because, again, she was a very honest, clean woman. Like, nothing foul play about her. Eliza, Sigmund started off with 3. You got some people coming to your left here, so be mindful not to film them. How's that word list coming, Deborah? I want to see what's going on over there. All kinds of people leaving. That's good. We'll be able to spread out a little bit. Watch yourself. They're trying to pull out though. Let's see what you got. Just trying to get you out of the line of fire there. I like bike, but I want something else to go along with it. It doesn't have anything to do with Eliza. It is something nearby. And again, that does happen. It's like proximity. Problem with Charleston is history everywhere. And you have to know your history of every little tiny thing to
Yeah.
see if it matches.
Trying to keep it off the sky is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. In this location, it's very hard.
I'm running like 50s.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, our ambient tonight was supposed to be like 45. I write them down before I leave the house.
I mean, it'll drop to 30, but
Yeah, it says 45
it dropped to 25.
on what?
Whatever's over that way.
It's probably a metal sign, something metal.
Okay.
Is it standing still?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for her to really like shout something out. I'm like writing down some of the things that she's saying.
Mhm.
It might be weird phrases. So do you all work together?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys were all like same classroom or
Her and I are in the same classroom.
gotcha. So this is about the time when everybody leaves here.
Charleston is so good.
So a couple years ago, when I was experimenting with like what the best practices were going to be for this, I was doing 2 tours a night. I would start one at 7, and they only ran 90 minutes, so I had to hurry up and start and finish it up so I could get to the 9 o'clock one. So I didn't really get to. I haven't seen like this area around this time of day.
Because you go so not late.
Yeah. Now I just do 9 o'clock, and they're about 2.5 hours now.
Yeah, we thought, I wonder why you start so late.
I like to stay out of the way of everybody else. Not to mention, you can see how everybody's leaving. This lot is usually clear. Like there's usually maybe 1 or 2 vehicles left for me to be able to spread out that many people. So that way you're not interfering. Because I have a lot of spirit boxes and communication devices, and this way you guys aren't like stumbling over each other kind of thing.
Was your
Eliza.
garden a gift? I keep hearing love.
I'm
Love.
surprised. It's today's date, the 19th.
When was her birthday?
It's in May. As is her wedding anniversary.
Oh, so May's a good month for her.
I'm sorry, her birthday's in December. Her death date was in May.
Oh,
My mistake.
when's December what? My birthday's December 6th.
So December 10th or 12th was the wedding, and I want to say the 26th was her death.
Oh, right after Christmas.
Yeah, and her birthday is the 27th of December.
Oh, she died the day before.
So yeah, she's a Christmas baby, but passed away in May.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, born in Christmas.
Trying to concentrate on these numbers
I know.
and
You try to have where I'm at, trying to remember which date goes where.
yeah.
That's where a lot of us get a little befuddled.
So the house was facing there, that way?
Correct. Yeah, we're basically in the servant and slave quarters. It about started here and kind of moved backwards a little bit. So this property
And
line,
they haven't done anything just
it
for it.
was a restaurant at one point, but there's nothing here that's ever signified that the Pinckneys lived here. And they've never even done an archaeological dig here.
I mean, that's so sad because they're like important people in this area.
I also, I looked into, just buying this property to have the dig done, but it would cost me probably about $5 million just to do the dig.
Yeah, I was about to say everything's so expensive.
Well, the problem with that, too, is I wouldn't be able to keep the artifacts. They'd have to go to the city.
That's not right.
Well, I'm in Charleston. It's kind of the way it works. Because of who these people were, they would have to, mostly have to go to the city.
Did she have her babies on the site?
They did.
How many babies did she
I
have?
told you.
Oh,
Waiting for her to come up with the answers. It's usually one of the set of questions that I'll throw out there from time to time. All right, let's get her over here to see if we can actually see if she's heard anything. You got any other weird terms showing up? Or numbers, for that matter?
come on, Eliza, come see us. I want to see this.
Words that I need
Talk to us. Come on, Eliza. Show us. Oh, Eliza. Eliza, come on, Eliza. Tell us about your babies. My birthday was in December.
Okay.
Kind of mentality, and I don't really see much, but I want to know what you've been asking. So, yeah, go ahead.
I just asked if she's here, was she just kind of let us know? And then, how do you feel about us being here? And then, I'm just getting all this love. Like,
really seen anything on the cam. The EMF is good. So again, we're probably just missing a few things in real time on your end, which is why we record it, because we've never done this. Obviously, I do this every day. And I haven't seen one term that is showing up on there yet that has really screamed that we have for wanting to happen. So we're going to wrap this one up. I don't like to waste anybody's time, theirs or ours. So I'm going to give you guys all of the answers to kind of show you how this all pieces together and what I look for when I get back to the office. Not to mention you'll have the audio piece of it, so when you're going through it, you can go back and reference like, those kind of little nuances. Let's go ahead and stop your camera at this point, Alicia. Kind of give your hands a...
Okay. He just said I haven't seen you around the gym for a while. Let's move the words out now.
80s music.
Lots of 80s music.
What were the lyrics, though?
Just like partying. I'm gonna do this. Like love.
I thought I heard something about put a face. Like, what was that one?
I can't see your face.
Can't see your face.
Can you see my face?
Anything else odd besides all that 80s music?
No, I mean just like
she's
when
bopping
I say
around the town.
A lot of 80s music.
What were the last couple? I'll help. Can you get it? Quite a bit out of it. Other nights it's kind of but again, we really haven't had a whole lot coming out of the radio here on So this particular location, and you don't need to keep one of us in view in this one, Alicia, because the foliage gives off enough of temperature variation.
Okay.
So again, if another tour is going to come through here, they're going to push through that little icy wall right here. So just kind of be mindful of that, or they'll be coming in the same way that we did. We'll just kind of get out of their way and let them go to the anyway. Your baseline in here, as far as your EMF meter goes, Deborah, is going to be a 7 or an 8. So I kind of want to know anything above that number, because the lamp posts in this area will give off some EMF. So I want to make sure like what we have is valid. Fair? Mm-hmm. All right. Welcome to Philadelphia Alley. So this place used to be called Dueler's Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. Now, every ghost tour comes down here, so I don't know if you guys have been down here yet. It doesn't seem like you guys have, but they all come down here. We all tell the same damn story. This was the space I was going to take out this year, but this guy keeps, like, I don't want to say haunting me. He, like, follows me around the city because he loves to chat. So hopefully we get quite a bit out of him. But anyway, here's how this story goes. This, again, very, very, very weird story. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. Now, if the song Brown Eyed Girl comes on for you, it's not coincidence. It's part of his name. We get it all the time. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash flow she just got. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of him. So he moves down here to Charleston to prove that he's not after Amanda's money. Well, the coachman that was bringing him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It's kind of like having a bad Uber driver. Anyway, somebody was walking by and seeing what was about to happen because he knew the coachman, and that gentleman walking by, his name was Ralph Isaacs. And I stopped on his name because he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. We were getting the letters RI all the time on a regular spirit box, so I bought another device that basically acts like a digital Ouija board with EMF findings. But it does give us letters. We have gotten the letters RI whenever I brought up Ralph's name about half a dozen times in the past year. So again, I think it's showing that, kind of to be valid. Now, with that said, back to Ralph, he tells the doctor, I know this guy, man. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. I got friends at 59 Church Street. It's up that way. You could stay with them, and you can, rent a room. You'll be safe. Good to go. Doc took him up on the offer. The two gentlemen became friends. Now, the longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point. He's not after Amanda's money. He's going to make his own. He's doing pretty well, and Amanda gets wind of this, and she's moving down so they could be married. So, Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. I hate using this story because a whistling doctor is a very big tropey kind of thing that you're going to find in every single haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future. We all have a whistling ghost. Ours just happens to be a doctor, and it makes for a really cool name. Anyway, back to Ralph and Dr. Ladd. They go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. So on the way home from seeing Richard III, they're arguing over the new actress that they just saw that came into town. Dr. Ladd thought she was great. it, and Ralph didn't. The argument turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiance, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It got really ugly, and they went their separate ways. Ralph has friends around town, including the newspaper, so he goes and places an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of mentality.
Oh my goodness.
Doc saw this ad, but rebutted with, let's go to Jeweler's Alley. Somebody's going to die. Keep in mind, this stupid argument started over an actress, so that's where it all began. So anyway, the two gentlemen came down here, back to back. They took their 10 paces away from each other. They turned. The doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. It's often what happened at a duel, by the way, in case you don't know much about dueling. But Ralph, he has his one bullet, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor.
Yeah.
Doc doesn't die, but Ralph proved his point. He's still pissed off. He's not willing to forgive. Doc fell to the ground, but his friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later, November 2nd of 1786, after refusing medical treatment. I'm going to point out two things. First off, it's 1786. You guys already know that bullet wounds back then were not the same as they are now. Secondly, he's a doctor. He probably just thought he had lead poisoning and tried to bleed it out himself, but he failed, because obviously he passed. Now, every ghost tour tells you to listen for the whistles. It sounds like this on a busy Saturday afternoon here in Charleston. It is always super quiet, aside from whatever air conditioning units are running from the little buildings that we have. So, if you walk through here and you actually find some whistles from the voice recorders on your phone, just keep in mind that every local knows this damn story. Anybody walking up and down the street of Cumberland or Queen Street is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single day. So I used to park, we actually passed my old parking garage, but my office is up this way, so I'd have to pass this alley in order to get to my car between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd always throw a whistle down there ever since I got thrown out of here. Let's talk about that, because that's the fun part of the story. So it actually kind of shows you a little bit how I do some of my research too, and how I look at the layout of the land and the evolution of it. So here's how this one goes. The alley didn't always go all the way through the way we came in. There was a wall up there. There's a reason why I start here, is because it was about halfway between us and Cumberland Street. That wall was there because this used to be called Cow Alley. This is where they kept all the livestock for the city of Charleston. Cows, chickens, and goats were all down here, obviously contained. Now, with that said, that means that the bricks down at the other side by Queen Street are older than the bricks we're standing on. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child down there, along with fingerprint swipes and others.
Ooh, I don't see that.
Now, I used to take my groups all the way through for a history lesson. Nothing paranormal about that handprint that's in the brick down there. That's the last place you're going to find that kid. Remember how I treat cemeteries and graves? It's the same thing with that brick. However, November 26th, 2020, I took my entire group down there. I'm still kind of new at this, as being a tour guide. So I took them all the way down for that lesson, and they're all waiting for something to happen with the devices. I'm trying to shoo them along because it's also outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful, not realizing I'm out of bounds for tours. The new owner of that mansion came out. He was screaming.
Oh,
my daughter
goodness.
thought it was hysterical because she was on the tour that night and her dad's getting yelled at. She was all about it. So we just moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because I worked in upper management for Walmart for over 10 years. You guys like to fight over towels and have scarred me for life. So I don't do Thanksgiving anymore. Now, the next day was the 28th. I called my partner that actually brought me into tourism, and I told him what happened, and he laughed his ass off just like my daughter did. He's like, dude, you're only allowed to go down halfway. So the rest of it's considered residential. It's out of bounds. You got to reroute the group. So what I told my group is I don't believe in the next story, simply because I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. We're obviously talking about pirates next, in case you didn't pick up on that. But anyway, somebody heard the name Anne coming out of a spirit box. I didn't tell them which pirate we were going to be investigating. You guys know which pirate I'm talking about? Anne Bonny. Yes. So I was kind of like, okay, maybe we will get something. We go up and around the corner. I told them what I did know about piracy at the time, which wasn't much because I only had a few hours to do some quick research. And again, it's a topic I wasn't too keen on. Somebody else heard the number 300 out of a different spirit box. I wrote it down because I didn't know what it meant. I do the research. We were there on November 28th of 2020. November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. The exact 300th anniversary of her pirate trial. I was actually pissed off. Let me explain. Master's degree in creative writing, English degree, journalism degree. I love to write, and I use facts and data even to write fiction. So even when I'm doing that, and especially when I'm doing this, I need facts and data. If you know anything about pirates, pirate stories come from pirate lore. Pirate lore was written 100 years after the golden age of piracy. That's a problem for me because that means more books I have to read on a topic that I'm not too into, if that makes sense. However, I've done it, watched more documentaries, played more video games, and read more books on pirates than I ever wanted to in my entire life. everything we're about to discuss came from a minimum of 2 resources. Again, big researcher is really what I turn this into, is just a giant research project for me. So it's a big roll of the dice if she'll even be there. So I'll explain why we're there at that particular location, but keep in mind, sometimes there's other tours down here, so we're gonna get the bleed over from this location. So I just kind of like to come in here and stir some shit up, and then we leave. Because Dr. Ladd's gonna know that we're out and about doing our thing. He's gonna recognize me, of course, and he's probably going to follow us over to the next location. Lo and behold, he also shows up at our last location, and I'll explain that once we get there.
Is that Jack?
What's that?
Is that Jack?
No. Again, this is Dr. Joseph. Jack is actually at the next stop, so that's why I'm like, Jack, stay in your lane right now. Can't keep track of who can float and who can't. So that's kind of the thing. So before we leave the space, do you remember? I stopped at this gate for another reason too, but I told you that the alley didn't go all the way through this way, right?
Yeah.
So in the event there was a loser to the duel down here, this was the shortcut to get to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. Not a whole lot of people know that, but again, it was closed off. The gate wasn't here. The wrought iron was probably put there in the early 1900s, but if you look at the archway, it's definitely part of the original wall. Otherwise, they would have to take their loser, the dead body, all the way down to Queen Street and then double back to be able to get it back up to the cemetery. So, yeah, again, just a weird little fun fact about Charleston. What do you got going on over there? You got anything? Adultery? That's our next location for sure. Yes, well, I mean, adultery's good, but I want more details. I want, like, Jack's name in there again to prove that was the adulterer kind of mentality. You getting my point? So, anything crazy that you may have heard, or were you focused on me? Okay. Anything crazy on your cam?
No.
All right, Dr. Ladd, we're gonna get the heck out of Dodge, buddy. You can follow us, only for the next stop, though. So, you kind of know the code word already if you're here.
Turn it off.
Yeah, you can give it a break. Get that thing right. You guys can have a seat here if you want, as we kind of cover the pirate
Sure
history.
will.
You can have a seat. Chill out. Relax. We're going to cover this quick pirate history. No, it's not a quick one. And then we're going to be able to explore the space like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion.
Oh my God, that's good.
You donkey! Oh my gosh! Okay, relax. Just turn the back.
Yeah, Usher's on.
How can you jam for like 30 seconds when it's only on for a split second? I see
Dad,
that all
I
the
know
time.
all those songs.
Because you know the rest of the song.
She does. There you go. No panic buttons. You can't
Hey,
break it.
you had Relax on there, and I'm relaxed, and that was the song I was jamming out to.
Did you guys notice the crosses on this little building right here?
Yeah, then.
Yeah.
Okay, those are earthquake bolts. They're not crosses.
Oh.
So, earthquake bolts. You guys familiar with those?
No.
Okay.
We got no. Well, we do have earthquakes, but not
Earthquake
nothing.
bolts are basically turnbuckles. So it goes all the way through the roof and looks just like that on the other side. So in the event we have another earthquake, like what I told you about earlier, which we haven't since 1886, by the way. That's how many years ago now. You can turn the turnbuckles, and it's supposed to tighten the building so it doesn't incur any further damage.
No.
Yes. Wow. That's kind of crazy. Because you also heard King James.
Yeah.
So the name James is relevant here. The name John is relevant here.
Okay.
And we had Jack, also relevant here.
All
And King is actually relevant to Jack.
right, boys, come on.
I know, right?
Tell us our
It's so
story.
weird. So weird. And actually, John is the real name of Jack. We're going to talk about that. But anyway, back to the earthquake bolts. So the reason we're here is because of those earthquake bolts, at least part of the reason. Those earthquake bolts are the first set that Charleston ever put in. And the reason why is because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. So you'd actually have to stand up. You see the big crosses on the white building right here? Yeah, there's 2 of them. That's what those earthquake bolts are. You can see the bolt right in the middle of it. So the wrought iron on it is supposed to be able to tighten and push the building back into place. Is the whole point of it. It's just a great idea. It just doesn't work.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all.
Okay.
You guys see them all over town in the form of Charleston charm bullshit. So, yeah, because that's all it is. Even that apartment building, you can see that from here. The dark brick building over there that actually has peach squares on every floor. Those are also earthquake bolts.
Oh, you know what I thought that was? I thought that was from the roof. You know, when the rain comes, the water shoots out.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, those are bolts in the middle. And what's weird about that particular building is they're actually on all 4 sides, which means underneath the floorboards, they actually crisscross. So they're almost like laying on top of each other. Kind of a weird. So if you think about it, if you tighten all of them all the way around, it's just going to squeeze the building in little pockets all the way around. It's so weird that they would think that that would be a thing, but it doesn't work.
But I like the crosses on the side. My husband's a welder, so he would like that.
So those, like I said, oldest government building in South Carolina, finished in 1713, and this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was coming here to start her new life. This is what I call a familiar. So for the TV show watchers, they use a new device called a Boo Buddy. It's basically a teddy bear with that little blinky like EMF meter in there. They use that to try to attract the child ghost because they would recognize it as a toy. That concept is basically what we're using here. There's not many buildings here in Charleston that Anne Bonny would recognize from her own era. Same concept. It's familiar.
Yeah.
Now, the building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like a government small building? 10 years?
Yeah.
Now, our history begins right in the middle of its construction, 1708. Try to follow me. I will slow down on the twist, but I'll breeze through everything else so we can actually get back to work. So 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. You with me so far?
Yeah.
The 3 of them running away from her father's angry wife. How pissed was she that she kicked them out of the damn country? So, just going to point that out. Oh yeah, by the way, clapping at the end of a tour is very cheesy. So, you know you had a cheesy tour if everybody's clapping. Just going to point that out. Sorry.
Give me snap.
I know, right? No, I want you to shake my hand and say, okay, I'll see you around. Because that's the way this is going to go. So anyway, so they leave the country and they land here in Georgetown. That's between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad bought a plantation up there. Mom died pretty quickly once they landed. So that means Dad is now sending young Anne down here to be able to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Hence this familiar building that we're standing next to. So Anne back home in Ireland was said to be a badass even when she was a little girl. At the age of 7, 8, or 9, remember it's pirate lore, nothing is exact, they say she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. Just giving you this young lady's mentality as we go through her history. So, fast forward, the building's done, and by 1715, a few years after that, pirates are starting to come through Charlestown. Anne is pretty stoked. The reason why? She's going to fall in love with one of these guys so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. It's a man's world during the 1700s. So, the first guy she falls in love with is, and by the way, I say it that way because there's a lot of these gentlemen, so we're going to talk about all of them. We've already got most of their names. Dad didn't approve of this first one. His name was James Bonny. He's a filthy pirate. Dad doesn't approve. They move away to Jamaica, and they got married. Anne Cormack became Anne Bonny. That's where the name came from. Okay. So that's the pirate name.
I do know that because I went to Ireland this past summer.
Okay, perfect. So, you actually might be able to get one of the answers to the other questions. What do you have on there? Barrel?
Barrel.
Okay. So, once they get down there, though, she realizes her new husband, James, is not Captain Jack Sparrow, like what she was hoping for, like from the movies that we all know and love, right? So this guy turns out to be a privateer. That means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This isn't who she wants, so she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This is John Rackham, but everybody calls him Calico Jack. This is obviously where I'm getting the name John from. You had Jack earlier. That's why I'm kind of like, Jack, stay in your lane. Now, Jack is the guy that they based your Johnny Depp character off of, in case you were wondering who this guy is. Now, he has his own ship, he has his own crew. Anne wants to be part of that crew, but you can't put a female on a pirate ship because it is bad luck. So, he decides to make a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. She gets it. It's a man's world. We're all adults here. Put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So then, before she starts the show, Jack drops her off in Cuba. Have the baby here and come back later. We'll figure it out. These are friends of mine. They'll help you. She goes and has that baby, but returns without a child. I have no idea what happened to the baby. None of my research has ever found it. She also comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty pissed off. Now everybody's going to know he let a girl on the ship. They're going to recognize her. So, to make him even more mad, she's going to go flirting with the pirate crew he captured while she was gone. They're down below deck, being held prisoner. Now, we're on guy number 3, in case you lost track. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females on the same ship, dressed as males, trying to be pirates. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Now, her and Mary became friends, maybe lovers. We're not going to be really certain on that because of the time frame. You guys are getting my point. But the British find out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come take down one pirate ship. The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with one-bullet flintlocks. They don't know how to use the cannon jets because they've not been pirates for very long. Obviously, two ladies with one-bullet guns are not going to take on a whole fleet of Navy ships. They get arrested. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her captain in bow, Jack. She says, "I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up on our communication a lot, just so you know.
Oh.
Now, the judge wants to see the two quote-unquote men that fought back so valiantly on their own. He's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. They're dead and gone. The two ladies go in front, all by their lonesome, and they reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. The judge could give a damn that they are female. They are still pirates to him. He's going to hang them. They both scream out, "We plead our bellies," because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging.
Yeah.
Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne and brings her home. And she remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary because we're not really sure. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84.
Dang, she is a tough old bird.
Now, it's a very abrupt ending because everything after her pirate career is up for speculation, and I don't like to spread rumors. So some say she stayed here, some say she went up to Virginia. The number of kids varies, but the common number I seen was the number 4, and I don't know what any of those children's names were or what Anne changed her name from when she actually landed back here in Charlestown. So, Mary Read died 5 months later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. Most books would tell you that it was something simple like fever. I'm going to say make it romantic. Call it scurvy. Don't care. So, again, we're talking about pirates. Here's what I'm not going to control this environment like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site. We can ask whatever we want to in here. And we're going to stay away from, what do we got, 2, 3 vehicles in here, so we're going to be able to spread out. Here's what I left out of the story. I left out the names of Anne Bonny's parents on purpose. That's the father and the mistress, and no, we have not gotten either one of their names yet. I left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. I'm going to show you how this one works because you've already gotten the answer. And it was the minute we walked up here. You heard the phrase King James. The name of the ship was called the Kingston. And I don't expect you to hear Kingston because you're listening to Charleston radio stations. You heard the word king, that suffices as a good enough answer for me. These folks know what the hell we're going to be asking because I hand these questions out every single night. I'm not surprised. And why the hell would you hear something about King James on a Charleston radio station? So again, you were meant to hear that. So that's kind of how I look at that because there's no such thing as coincidence to me.
I was walking over Church Street.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
The last question, or the last 2 that I usually throw out there are the city that Anne grew up in Ireland. Is that bedtime? 9 o'clock?
Yeah, pretty much.
My wife has an alarm that gives off like a Tweety bird sound because that's when we have to cover up the birds so that way we don't forget. So, because we have all these alarms set all the time. But anyway, the name of the city where Anne grew up in Ireland, you guys can throw that question out there because I didn't tell you what that was, or the color of Anne Bonny's hair. That's an easy one. I usually throw that to people that are struggling with the spirit box, like not hearing much. You're not one of those people because you're hearing quite a bit, just not any answers, like any true answers. So we'll kind of see how this pops up. But we do already have one answer of, and we have all the names, right? So we have John, which is John Rackham, was Calico Jack. So we have Jack and John. And then you have James, which was the first husband. The only name we're missing out of her series of lovers is the last husband, which we don't know what it is, and Mary Read. So we have a good number of names that actually match up to this location tonight. So again, this space isn't always this fruitful. We'll kind of see what we can get out of this. EMF, as far as your end, Deborah, I don't expect a whole lot out of this place. So if we do get a 2.5, I'm actually excited. And the closer you get to these bushes, we have parking meters and 2 electrical poles on this side of the street, basically on the corners of the parking lot. So you'll probably get anywhere between like a 3 to a 5 up here. I actually get more excited the closer you are to that ivy wall in the back. Okay. The thermal imaging camera has acted up several times on weird occasions at this location, meaning whoever that person was filming, their devices stopped working after a row of static kind of went over them. So if you were filming Kim, for example, just static would go over her and then her device would stop working. I've seen it several times. It's been a while, but it has occurred on different occasions. So just kind of keep that in mind if you do see any static going across from top to bottom on your screen. Any weird words that I need to know about, Deborah, on this showing up? Because that's going to be the main thing in here, that and Kim.
Caroline.
Caroline. Who the hell's Caroline?
That's one of the kids' names?
Maybe. I can't prove it.
Well,
That's the bad part.
we'll put that right in your notebook.
Yep, I'll be writing it
Tell
down.
us.
Well, it's already on the list. I don't have to write it down because it does it for me. And I do look into every name and number that pops up, especially for the locations that we're at. And if it's something new for me, I definitely dive in. So, ladies, let's get to work. Let's see what we can find.
Okay.
We might have to move something around this way. Maybe not. Yeah, good luck going on a ghost tour in the future.
Why?
Because you're going to be in a large group like what just walked by here, trying to
I
listen
didn't
in on
notice.
one guy.
Yeah.
USA.
I've had people at the end of this, like, because the last part is a little different than what we've been doing. They come out of what we've been doing and say, Nick, you suck. You just ruined all ghost tours for me in the future.
Aw.
Like, I'm sorry. I can't help that. And we all have a good chuckle about it.
Yeah.
It is fun. I hear it actually more often than you do.
Have you ever had these ghosts talk to you, like other than the words?
So, like, you mean me hear personal messages, like, in my own ears?
Or on the stuff, like
Oh, yeah.
sentences?
Oh, we've had some crazy things happen. I wouldn't still be in business if that didn't happen. So Pinckney Mansion site is probably my most active place to get like full sentences and full blown messages other than 1 or 2 word phrases. Like I've had full sentences come from like 3 different spirit boxes. I've had disembodied voices come through on Kim's spirit box over there. I've had please just leave us alone, showed up over 13 radio stations. Like we have some crazy stuff that goes on over there. That's why I have a hard time taking it out of my route. So for the time that I live here in Charleston, I will continue going to the Pinckney Mansion every single day. So I am moving here in a couple of years. My wife is gonna, she's, depending on which school she gets into, we're going to be moving to the New Orleans area or St. Augustine.
This is his radio.
Yeah, matched up the perfect person with the spirit box.
Mm-hmm. What's your wife studying?
She's going to be a vet when she's finished. So she's wrapping up her master's in animal behavior right now. She's got a couple of like bachelor level courses to take here in Charleston, and then we'll be off to wherever she gets accepted. And I'm fingers crossed for me, it's going to be New Orleans, but she's got fingers crossed on St. Augustine. So either way, like I can continue to work. Like like where we go, it depends on what I do.
Yeah.
And so like those are really the only other places that will, I don't want to say accept like ghost type mentality in it, but I kind of need to continue what I have growing here.
Yeah.
Philadelphia was another one, but that problem for that for me is it's seasonal. So
Yes.
once that winter hits, like nobody's going ghost hunting kind of thing.
Yeah, New Orleans probably be a good place to be.
I think I'll be more accepted and actually have friends when I move down there. I think that was the main thing for me, was like to actually have connections. Here, I kind of remain on the DL. Like I'm not like the number one thing to do, and I do that on purpose. Like to kind of keep everything like within the top 10 so I can be found, but at the same time, I'm not drawing too much attention to all of the methods and things that I do out here with you guys. It's just not smiled upon, we'll put it that way. This is the holy city, so kind of take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I was actually a little worried. Our local newspaper, the Post and Courier, actually did a front page story on this. Like they came on the tour and did, I mean, it was the whole front page. And I was a little worried about that, like drawing too much attention.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I could use the extra business always, and it kind of worked out to my benefit. So I had people call me about that article, but I don't have people like, oh my God, what do you think you're doing out here?
That's good.
So, what do you got, Deborah? Anything?
I got a 2.5.
Where at? Let's see if we can just try to debunk it real quick.
Come on.
Come back
Come
again.
through.
Nice. Let's try to debunk it in this location, just because there is a little bit of electricity running through here. Dan, you got anything?
I'm getting a lot of Journey.
What are the lyrics?
Stranger,
Okay.
don't stop believing.
More 80s music.
The jungle. Welcome to the jungle. A lot of like guitar, like.
Come on, Ann, if you're here, you got to give us a few more pieces before I wrap this one up. Man, it's a quiet night.
I've said this town is quiet overall. It's just,
Be here on a Friday, Saturday night.
but even then, it's still kind of.
Yeah, it's not this quiet though. I haven't had a quiet night like this in a long time. It just feels like everything is just stopped. Be mindful of the other tour coming through here.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they all go up to the front of the magazine. They discuss the architecture of it and they move on. But yeah, that's sort of that's about half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 people in there. That's usually close to my max capacity right there.
There's a lot of coldness at the ground level. Is that like water or something? Whoop, I lost it. See what that line of blue is?
I think it's all the sand up there. You see the sand?
Okay, I was just curious why that had a line of
I
cold.
don't know if you noticed, but the Pinckney Mansion site, it's not all full concrete like this. It's got, obviously some gravel, some mud, and then there's a little bit of, pavement there. So it's going to look like the ground is all multicolored. But when I'm watching the video portion from there, I'm usually looking at the wall because it hangs onto the heat, and I'll be able to see a cold anomaly moving through it, moving in front of it, basically. Crazy?
Come on, Ann. I tell you, Ann was a wild woman in her age. You know why she stabbed the butler or the servant?
Nope. Couldn't tell you. But you'll find that story several times. Because apparently, her father got in trouble for it, kind of thing. He was a prominent man in Ireland.
For real.
She needed to behave.
Behave.
Is that what you got?
Yeah. Welcome to the jungle.
Well, you said one of the greats when we walked in here, and I'm like, all right, guys, really? We're going to fight over who's one of the greats? You'll hear that on the audio. When you guys say things that I'm we don't always hear those kind of things, I'll kind of play off of it to see if it's really what came out of it. You didn't say anything, immediately after to continue the conversation, but interesting. It's funny because she's talking about she's a wild woman, and you get the word behavior.
And I'm telling you, all this is freaky music, talking about sex and.
She was a wild woman for her. What?
Normal.
You
Look, it's
1700s.
Normal for her.
It's normal. She was a freak.
Normal behavior for her.
Were you a freak, Ann?
And let's face it, she probably had many more lovers than what I told you all about tonight.
Woo.
She was involved with all of the great, pirate captains, Charles Vane, Blackbeard.
And they were dirty, weren't they? These were filthy people. It's what did she have?
Live on water. They're living down in Nassau, which is obviously not a very clean city at the time.
What in the world did she see in them?
Well, it wasn't that she saw anything in them; it's what they could provide. If they were, either going to get her on that.
Survive the rest of her lives.
Survive.
But she was rich.
No, she was not.
Oh, I thought she was.
No.
She got to survive.
She was probably sleeping around to survive.
Oh.
Protection. Her and Calico Jack were good friends.
Enough for you. You're all about some music.
But there's actually a show called Black Sails. It actually
Feel
gives
that.
a great depiction
Bring it.
of all of these pirates that I just discussed, and the dirtiness of them.
I need your energy. Is that why I'm hearing so many club songs?
She doesn't know all that shit.
Well, I thought he bought a plantation or something.
The father did.
And
Doesn't
then-
mean they had money.
Okay, well, okay.
He had money from Ireland, and when he used it over here, he probably used up a good portion of it.
They
Okay.
didn't have club stuff. They just
There wasn't really a whole lot going on in Georgetown during those times, so that's why he had to send her down here for merchants and things to sell.
So my
get
house.
things for the plantation. It was probably budgeted, bootstrapped pretty good. So It also doesn't really tell you how they got here. So if they boarded their own ship, if they boarded somebody else's ship.
A chance to win. Nobody knows.
My guess
Military
is he didn't have
colleges.
his own ship.
Golly.
You got a lot going on in there now. The last one on there, still bring it. And we're going to wrap it up. If you can't say goodnight, we're going to close it down. I'm going to give them the answers and move them on. Can you give us the name of the city that you grew up in Ireland?
She said, this says something about fucking. Like, you can't make that up.
Oh, yeah. I get okay. What's funny is we get a lot of female gender terms here. Like, we're talking about a woman who dressed as a man to get what she wanted. So we usually get a lot of like she, her, like, all of the pronouns in those kind of phrases. So again, the fact that you're getting all of these sexual content that you're getting, like, I'm not surprised. We've gotten the word sex before, and that Ouija board device has spelled out sex for us before several times at this location. So again, I'm not surprised, especially since we are talking about, like, why was she sleeping around? You know, what would have been the cause of that? What did she see in these guys? It wasn't that she saw that these big, handsome guys that she wanted. It was like, oh, this guy provides a little bit of protection if I get in trouble with this person, so forth and so on. That's what it was. It was more bartering than it was anything else.
It's like, how many diseases did she pass around?
Well, we won't get into that. That's a Blackbeard story right there. Because you know that man had 14 wives.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he actually blockaded Charleston looking for medicine because he had syphilis from one of those 14
Native
wives.
neighbors. Ho?
Oh, was the Blackbeard a hoe?
It actually says hole.
Hoe.
Not an asshole, but a whole ass. So, all right, I say we cover the answers. He's kind of in our spot, so we'll just kind of go right here. Nothing really going on with the cam, so we can go ahead and put a stop to that. There you go.
Okay. So
We're
I'm
out
at
to offer.
more than
17, 16.
Henry?
Are you over there?
Henry, I know we're on a different side of the park where you can wander around. I know you can. If you want to talk about something specific, you did say it hurts. You want to talk about what pain you had.
10, 14, 13.
And Alexis. Tuesday.
I got the word bombing on the word list. Do you want to talk about the war, Henry?
David, Jeremiah.
I see like a building with like 3 openings.
Okay. What's the time era of the building?
Maybe 16 or 1700.
Oh, that's the temperature.
16 or 17.
It's going right now. 16, 17, 18.
Search
16,
comes when you
17.
ask.
Search comes when you ask. That's crazy.
So, did something happen over there where my
All
cold
kinds of
spot
things
is?
have happened. I'd have to see it like directly and make sure it's not glass, because glass will get that cold.
Okay.
There's a lot of wrought iron on that building too, which gets just as cold.
Love it.
Or that it's not the sky in between the trees over there.
Okay. Let me go back downward.
So I'm gonna definitely, I'm gonna go back to the war piece, because the person we're trying to make contact with here is not from the 16 or 1700s. Henry, let's go with something that we can actually kind of prove in real time. There's some noise coming out of that church. Can you tell us what the sound is?
Come up on the land.
Henry, what's the sound we're hearing right now? It's coming out of the church. Henry,
Jesus.
it's coming out of the church, yes, but what's the sound? You know, sometimes it's hard to grab the right word. But what's the sound?
Because we're going to
Okay, Henry, the sound is over, so I'm going to move back to the war.
emphasize.
Can you tell us about the war? Maybe which war you served in? Or which side you served? Which side did you serve in the war?
Lawsuits.
Henry, we're running out of time. We're down to about 4 minutes already. We've got 2 images so far. We'd like to see some more from you. We're here respectfully. I told you we'd come respectfully.
Here we go.
I know, I say that every night. However, these young ladies are all educators. They are teachers, just like you once were. This is them trying to learn about you from the horse's mouth, not from a book.
Yeah, we do enough reading.
I do enough reading to verify.
Ooh.
Henry, if you don't want us here, you could tell us to go home. I'll take the hint.
Beginning in chapter 13. 30 p.m. Eastern.
Henry, it's been a few minutes since I asked you about your job. I know you said that the words chapter 13, which would kind of pertain to what you do. Can you be more specific? Before we wrap this up, just give us a little hint that you were even here with us.
Blew out my flip-flop.
Do you have no other images? No?
Strain nothing.
Henry, you could tell us to go home and leave you alone. But if you can give us one more image or something more...
Too late to start again.
Sure, we're on the tail end of it. Come on.
Tire Army.
Thank you for that. Back to the war again. Which side did you serve?
He was chosen of.
Which army did you serve? Can you tell us that?
So leaving the crowd or.
She's pretty good at this too. You guys were both pretty decent with that. It's not an easy job.
We have to listen to our kids, and they mumble sometimes, and they don't articulate words, and we have to figure
Bulgaria?
out what they're saying.
You did not serve in the Bulgarian army. Try again.
Was it a European army, or Southern, or Northern?
Charleston's 10 in a row.
Oh. Southern. We're from Georgia.
Dinner.
Henry, I like that you put the word Charleston out there, and I normally throw that stuff away because it's too easy. But can you give us more specific about which army?
You a jokester?
No,
No?
not at all.
So you're a serious man.
He is actually not exactly happy with me, with me poking the bear like this every night.
Ah.
Like he's a very, he's distinguished, but not like very
Powerful physique.
Oh, okay. So you want to be respected,
Yes.
and you think that this is kind of below you, that you have to answer these
Hardworking.
questions every night.
And we've had full conversations about his family this way.
Wow.
Like that's how I learn about him. I
Wow.
haven't touched on any of those things
First
yet,
is in the.
but he's not really giving us much at all at this point. Like what we have so far is like I usually throw Charleston out because it's really easy, but I was looking for the word Confederate,
Oh,
Southern.
okay.
Like that's what I would look for.
Well,
but we
we-
did get the word Army, so it's kind of a touch. I haven't seen the images yet, so we'll be able to see the images that we're seeing
Mhm.
before we all part ways. But it'll also be in your report, so that's kind of the cool thing. But again, I think at this point, I think we need to call it. So Henry, can you say goodnight to us, or give us one more image, and we'll wrap it up? You know I usually do a count out. You can tell us to go home.
Hey, thank you for your time. This has been very interesting.
1025.
We'll just wait till I tell him your actual history, Mr. Henry.
Oh my God, I see a face.
Okay.
Highway.
It's like a mummy.
A mummy.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah.
They were living, therefore they're...
No longer living. They're mummies. Interesting things. Let's see. It says the word finish, so I'm going to take that as our cue. Go
Okay.
ahead and tap her on the leg for me.
All right, thank you so much, Henry.
Oh, wow, look at it.
One.
Go ahead and peel that off your face, Deborah.
You want me to stop recording this?
Yep, let's go ahead and stop recording.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty cool, huh?
Uh-huh.
So let's take a look at these images. Don't get up because sometimes this can be disorienting. We're wrapping this up.
Okay.
It's